Yo, what's up guys? Anthony here and welcome back to Born to Create. So for those of you guys who don't know, Born to Create is a simple concept. If who or what you want to be doesn't exist, you go out there and create the life that you want. So on today's podcast, I got my man, my brother. I got a true king who's going to teach you how to make money in short-term rentals. Kevin Anderson. Kevin has done well over 7 figures in Airbnb short-term rentals. So stay tuned, watch the video, be inspired, take notes because you're going to learn so much from this guy. Kevin, my man, welcome to Born to Create, brother. Well, welcome back.
Yes.
To Born to Create.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you here in person. I know last time we talked shop about Airbnb, short-term rentals, so I wanted to bring you in to get the full effect and get the energy that you brought on the internet before. So, first, I want to know, how did you become an entrepreneur? Because I know where you are now, and we'll get to that. But I want to know how you started in this entrepreneur journey.
You know what, man? I really think that there were traces before I realized it was entrepreneurship. Because like even going back, when I was a kid, I remember I used to sell gum out of the gum packages. I'd sell it by the stick for 50 cents. Sold some other things too, like weed, you know what I'm saying? What else? I was always selling something growing up, like no matter what it was, flipping iPhones, fixing iPhones. But I would say where I realized that, this entrepreneurial thing was real, because before for me it was just an income.
Yeah.
But seeing that this can actually be a real lifestyle and something that can carry you to places you never thought imaginable.
Yeah.
That started in 2016.
Yeah.
Part of the same circle, right?
Yeah.
Got started with e-commerce, literally selling products from a Shopify store, products I had no idea about, selling Freemason rings.
Yeah.
I know nothing about Freemasons or any of that.
Yeah.
Sold my first ring, and I'll never forget being at my crib in Mobile with my wife and seeing that first sell through, that first cha-ching come through from Shopify. Yeah. And I was just like, you know what, this can be something.
That first cha-ching, that always feels good, right?
Oh my God.
Even though it's just one, it could be for 25 cents, but just showing that it can be done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because really it was the first time where there was a transaction done apart from me. Yeah. It wasn't me showing up to sell an iPhone, weed, or some gum.
Yeah.
It was something that took place digitally. So just seeing where you could take an online business is what really just changed the game for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So that first cha-ching, I know, even if it's a quarter, it's like an amazing feeling. Talk to me about that feeling, because most people don't get to experience that, even though it's so small. It's not about the feeling. I mean, I'm sorry, it ain't about the money. It's about the feeling, right? Talk to me about that feeling and how that feeling pushed you to want more.
Man, it was a huge sense of accomplishment, because when I look at the context of even setting up a Shopify store, running ads and all that. Yeah. When I first found out about the business model, I literally didn't even own a laptop. Like I had to buy a laptop specifically for that business model.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you can ask, even, some of our circle, I didn't know how to operate the thing. So to see with choppy action, right? Action that I was taking, but didn't really know what was going to come from it.
Yeah.
To see that come to fruition and that sound of that cha-ching, it was an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
And it really made me realize that I have the capability to, do anything. Do anything I put my mind to. Completely new field, and I was able to get a result. That's all I needed.
Yeah, that's all I needed.
Yep.
And so there's this, I guess this myth that says that you need to have money to make money, or money to actually own a business. How much money did you start? Because you're still working, right?
Yeah.
At the time.
Yep.
So how much money did you start with, and did it take your whole life savings to launch this store, launch this business, to launch these ads? Talk to me about that.
That's the biggest myth, that you need to have $100,000 in the bank account, scrap the life savings and all that, especially nowadays. Maybe before 100 years ago, where everything's brick and mortar and you have to physically build something, maybe. But bro, I literally got started with a $500, 20% interest Capital One credit card, the first ever credit card that I got.
20% interest?
20% interest, yes, sir. Yes, I've started a few businesses with a 20% interest financial product.
Right, wow.
So yeah, man, all you really need at the end of the day is the willingness to take action and be comfortable with failure.
Yeah.
That's what I deal with now, even being a few years into the journey, is failing forward. I have to remind myself that it's it's learning to walk and getting back up again. That's just a part of this, and what's going to take you forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't even know if I just answered your question, bro.
You did.
but
I mean,
but that's all of it.
I think you answered it over beyond. So moving forward, so you had your e-com store,
Yeah.
Shopify store. You've done a lot of things in entrepreneurship and business.
Yeah.
And now I think you're still growing. I mean, even though you come so far, you've done more in the last 3 to 4 years than most people will probably do in a lifetime, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So, and I mean, and as we were talk, you fell forward, you moved forward, and that pushed you into where you are now. Is you're doing short-term rentals,
Yeah.
right? So Airbnb, VRBO, all that, and now you are 100% full-time entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And you've been able to surpass 6-7 figures doing this.
Yeah. So 2021 in revenue, passed like 1.4. So in 2022, just, looking to double that.
So,
But yeah, man, 7 figures.
a lot of people don't know what 1.4 is. So say the whole thing. 1 point.
Right. $1,400,000.
$1.4 million.
Right. $1.4 million.
And this is just 3 years out of working.
Yes.
For the city.
Yes, sir.
Right. And the city, how much were you making per year at the city?
I was making. So everyone talks about like before taxes. I don't know nothing about before taxes.
Right.
All I knew was like how much were they putting in my pocket.
Right.
So every month I'd make around like $3,000, and then if I worked overtime, right, overnight driving up to the mountains in the middle of the night to work on some equipment, I could maybe pull in like 35, 4,000. If I brought in 4,000 a month, we going to Red Lobster.
Red Lobster.
Yes.
I would go to Market Realtor, but okay, Red Lobster it is. So you were doing an average of $3,000 per month.
Yeah.
Right. $1.4 million a year is well over $1,000 per day.
Facts. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you went from $3,000 per month over $3,000 per day.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Bro, so it was definitely taking action at the end of the day that led to it.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, it wasn't like I said, hey, I'm trying to get to a mill. Things just started taking place.
Right.
So like when I decided to start educating others about the business model, that's what really exploded things for me and opened up a lot of opportunities. And it made me just realize that giving, whether it's in the form of education, mentorship, however you give that off, it's one of the most beneficial things you can do. One, from the fulfillment of seeing others being able to become their own superhero and get out of that same situation that you were maybe in. Yeah. But then also too, the margins are great on it. The margins are, it costs you nothing to sit down and record what you know.
Right.
And we all know something valuable.
Yeah, all of us, yep.
And give it out to others to help them.
Yeah.
So, but that's what really took it off for me was the education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get to that, but first, a lot of people want to know, how do you get started in Airbnb?
Yeah.
Right? So I know this can be a whole masterclass in itself, and I know I know what you're going to drop is going to be what you pay for. So what people pay for. So thank you first of all for giving knowledge for free for us.
Got you.
But Airbnb, people think that Airbnb is the actual business, right? But you told me that's a platform that you put the property on.
Yeah.
Right. So explain to me, like, what's the actual business model?
Right. So the actual business model and what I'm doing specifically is called short-term rental arbitrage.
Okay.
It's this idea of taking an asset or a product, commodity, whatever it is, taking it from one market to another, and being able to make a margin from that transfer of markets. Right. So, and the biggest thing about it is you don't own the asset, product, or whatever commodity, whatever it is that you're selling.
Yeah.
So we go into an apartment building, right, who's specifically focused on the long-term rental model, traditional real estate, sign a 12-month, 13-month, 14-month lease. We sign that lease with them, right, getting control of the property, but then we take it to another market. We take it to the short-term rental / vacation rental market, which is a whole nother ball game. Instead of renting it out for 12 months at a time, you're renting now by day, by week. You can even rent by month too. Yeah. But that's the entire business model. We're arbitrage because we're taking something we don't own, bringing it to another market, and making a margin from it being connected to that market that you brought it to.
Gotcha. And how was that profitable, one, and two, is it easy for regular, Sam and Joe and Mary to actually do?
Great question there, because when I think about it, before that, I had no real estate experience at all, right? Like my first business was e-commerce online. And I realized that e-commerce business helped me a lot more with my short-term rental arbitrage Airbnb business, because a majority of what you do has to do with listing online.
Okay. Wow.
So the average Joe, first off, I wasn't the only one to do it. I was able to bring my family into it. So my mother, my sisters, my brother-in-law, right? Friends.
Okay.
Anybody could get involved with this business despite the background of knowledge that you come from, because it's very simplistic. It's very straightforward. Get the property under lease and list it on Airbnb and furnish it, right?
Right.
Once you do that, because of the Airbnb platform being a very hot platform, you don't have to run ads on it. You don't have to do anything outside of the norm. When you list your property, the platform takes over and gets you bookings, right? You'll get your first booking in 24 to 48 hours. So absolutely, the teenager, the 55-year-old, 60-year-old, grandma, like anybody could get involved with this business. And I want to see everybody get involved with it because it's very low barrier to entry. That's why I love it. Yeah.
So how do you actually find apartments? Well, find apartments, and then two, can you also do houses as well?
Yes, you can do houses. And if I was telling somebody that I love, like, okay, this is how you should get started in this business, I would tell you, if you can, start with a single family home.
Okay.
Because single family homes are able to generate more revenue, because the more people you can sleep, the more money you can make. And a home is just a different experience than being in an apartment. It's much larger. There's backyard, more privacy, right? So there's a lot more factors there, but it leads you to charge a premium, right? Because if you have a group of 6 people coming to your place, right, $600 a night, it's not going to be too bad for them if everyone's paying $100 a night. But if you were only doing that for a studio and only 2 people can sleep there, now, it's a little more expensive for you.
So the bigger property, the more cash you make.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
Okay. It's
it's behind me. You see me looking.
Turn. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So with Airbnb or short-term rentals, what I've seen is people have an extra bedroom. So is that profitable, or would you just say, you know what, just scratch that and just go right to get an apartment or a home, or is doing a bedroom in your house, is that profitable?
So to my knowledge, that was actually the foundation for Airbnb, right? Like that's how everything started. If you read back into it, in 2008 is where Airbnb took off. It took off through a local, newspaper, local news stations, because Obama was coming to some specific place in Colorado to speak. And when, Obama, like his first year, everybody was on board. Like it was just amazing, history, amazing stuff happening. So when he was coming to this city, there was literally not enough lodging for all the people who wanted to come. And Airbnb was already founded at this time. So Airbnb started advertising in the local paper and local news stations for people who have an extra dwelling unit to provide stay to individuals who are coming out to go see Obama speak. So that's how it took off, was, having this additional bedroom, dwelling unit somewhere on property. Now, in terms of it still being profitable, I believe it is. You see a lot of properties, specifically in San Diego and LA, where it's not uncommon to have an additional dwelling unit on your property, or maybe you have like a garage somewhere offsite that you were able to convert into a bedroom, right? So it's still, I believe it still works. I never went that route, but I think that Airbnb has now expanded outside of that idea of the spare room, because now we're seeing RVs. Now we're seeing, bro, you can go look in Joshua Tree right now, and somebody has a tent for rent where you can pay $150, $200 a night. An outdoor tent with no electricity, no bathroom, like literally a basic tent.
So I go to Walmart and buy a tent and put it in Joshua Tree and make $100 a night.
It got to be a nice tent, so you may need to go online and get it from, the legit tent makers. But theoretically, yes, you get a nice enough tent where it has an experience, somebody's going to book your place. Again, RVs. I mean, you name it. Yurts, which is another type of dwelling unit. All these things are popping up on the Airbnb platform. So it's just expanding into a new arena, man.
So going back, what I heard that Obama basically built Airbnb.
He had a major part in its initial test phase. The minimal viable product that you want to test.
Yeah.
Him showing up.
He should be getting royalties.
He should be getting royalties. Yes.
So you're talking about the experience, all right? Mm-hmm. So I want to go back real quick to we could get to that. But you mentioned I mentioned to you, how does one actually go out there and say, you know what, I want to go in this city, and how does one actually get an apartment to say yes? Because from my experience, most apartments want you to live there.
Yep.
Right. So how do you go about getting your first apartment?
So it really starts with outreach, right? The beautiful thing about it, we have all these platforms out there that have motivated property owners who want to get their place leased up, right? So I can go on Zillow right now for free and go get in direct contact with the property owner, hot pads, Facebook Marketplace even, so many platforms out there. What else besides Zillow? Realtor.com. Okay. So you reach out to this landlord, right? And you give or not just an explanation, but you pitch your business model. Yeah. But in doing so, you need to understand the pain points that you need to address and how you can provide value to their situation. So let's say somebody has a property that's been on the market for longer than 30 days and they're trying to get it rented out. Mm-hmm. We know that for the traditional real estate investor, outside of your monthly operating cost for the unit, right? If you have a mortgage and utilities, your biggest expense is when you have to market and get a new tenant to come in your place when somebody moves out. Yeah. So understanding that pain point, I can approach somebody and say, hey, I want to sign a long-term lease with you. Instead of doing a 12-month, let's do a 4 to 5 year lease.
Are you serious?
That way you have cash flow locked in over 4 to 5 years. And guess what? I'll even put a rental increase in place for you over the year, a small percentage that makes sense for both of us to incentivize the offer. So if I know a real estate investor who just invested in this property, it's going to be a liability to them until they get somebody in there to make it an asset. So I'll try to side with them when it comes to longevity. Yeah. Because for them, if they can have a tenant in place for 5 years, they don't have to worry about cash flow. It's locked in on a lease. Yeah. If somebody's there for 5 whole years, bring security to them.
Wow.
So I look at what value I can give them. If I see a new apartment building that just been constructed, right? I know that it's everything for them to get tenants inside their apartment unit. So when I approach them, my value proposition is I would love to take multiple units. I see you're a new construction. If I take multiple units, I could meet whatever that threshold is for them to have a certain amount of doors so that they can refinance their property. Yeah. I literally ran into that situation with my last deal at Carlsbad with the 12 units. She's told people no to the same exact business model that I wanted to do. But because I was willing to take 10 plus units, I was willing to take 12.
Wow. Okay.
I realized that by me taking those 12 units, her property owners were able to finally get the building refinanced.
Wow.
So that was the value proposition there. Okay. Give me multiple doors. Okay. So I see just which way I can, bring value to their situation and create a win-win.
Yeah. And that's news to me. But this everything that you teach in your course, you teach all of this, right? Because it's like, if your units are helping the homeowner or the investor refinance, that's gold.
That's gold,
right?
And they need to have tenants in place, like that,
right? Yeah, right. Okay. So 2022, kind of post pandemic.
Yeah.
There's a big housing shortage, right? For houses and apartments.
Yep.
Right. So how is it that you can go in and get these units easily? Is it because of what you offer? Because people need houses right now. And rent is like sky high, right?
Yep.
So is it because it's a longer term lease and because you pitch it? So how can you beat out the average, the average Joe? Is because you're taking more units, or how is that working?
So you actually just mentioned the key. Rent rates are at an all-time high across the nation. Right? Like you're seeing 2 bedrooms in certain areas where they used to be maybe 1,500, 2,000. Now they're 3,000, 4,000. Yep. Right? So going back to the Carlsbad example, they had a tough time getting locals to lease from them on a long-term basis because their rent rates were so high.
Yeah.
$4,000 for a 2-bedroom, $4,500 for another 2-bedroom, right?
Crazy.
So this market actually benefits us because if you're going there to live and I'm going there to invest, we have a different mindset. For you, you're going to be there with your family. So you want to get the best deal possible, right? So there's going to be a threshold for you that says this is how much I can afford, period, because it's you living there. It's not an investment. Because I'm going after that same unit and I know that that this unit can generate a certain amount of revenue. I have more room and space to pay more rent up front than you are because I know that this is going to bring me a return. So when you have a market where locals are saying this is too expensive, it's perfect for us to come in and say, hey, we don't mind paying a little extra because we know that this is an investment and we're going to make money from this. As long as the numbers make sense.
Now, when you say extra, are you saying extra, are you paying the landlord extra rent or just extra based on the market value of what's going on now?
So I'm okay with both. Like the project in Carlsbad, it was literally just the market was too expensive. So I didn't even have to say, hey, I'll pay a little bit more. But I will, like if I'm in a really hot market to where I have a lot of competition just from locals who want to lease that place, as long as I run the numbers, I don't mind increasing rent $200 to $300. But we know that in traditional real estate, you increase something $100, $200, $300. That's a major, and now you have that on file, right? That someone's willing to pay you more, so you can raise the rents of all your other units. So that's how you play both ends.
Extra $300 a month in rent. I mean, that's like that can be a couple $1 million cash, refinance cash out for the actual homeowner. So I didn't do the math on this. So you said that you got 12 units?
Yes.
About 4,000?
It ranges between 4,000 and 5,000. So my average cost per unit in Carlsbad came out to 4,300 when I did an average on what it cost.
You're paying about $50K a month.
Yeah, just for that project. Yep.
Okay. So that's a huge number. Right?
Yes.
So you must be making, how much are you making off that? Well, what's your projection to make based on spending $50K a month?
So I typically look for anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 profit margin after expenses, right? So after rent, after utilities and all that, if I can scrape anywhere from $1K to $2K, I'm good with it. With these units being a little bit more expensive, I think I'll hover around like $1,300 to $1,500 per door in net cash flow. So I mean, you take that 1,300 times 12, 1,500 times 12. That's what I'd be looking at in profit margin from this specific project. Now, I will say this, seeing that single family homes can make you way more. I have shifted my attention and focus to begin looking at luxury style, larger homes, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom type of homes. Because with those, the margin gets ridiculous. I know an individual right now that has specific homes in the Poconos, which I think is in Pennsylvania somewhere. I don't know. Could be wrong. Correct me on that. But she has certain months where she's making $8 to $10K per door. So when I seen that, I was like, you know what? After this last
apartment or house?
House.
Okay, house.
4 to 5-bedroom home that she has. So when I seen those numbers, I was just like, you know what? We're sitting at about 29, 30 units, right? That we manage totally. It's time to transition into the single family homes to test that out. So that's where I'm going to open up that margin. There's a little bit more cost up front because typically with single family homes, it's possible to get, rent concessions, meaning like, 4 to 8 weeks free rent. But typically with them, it's cut and dry. First month's rent, security deposit is equal to first month's rent, and then you have to furnish. So your all-in cost may be more, but your cash on cash will be greater because of the potential of what that property can earn.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Wow. So the typical person, let me go back. The experience. So you have, say in Carlsbad, you have 70 other, if that's even an accurate number, other Airbnb hosts who wants to book as well. What sets you apart or anybody apart from the other properties that are in the area?
Gotcha. So great question there for sure. And I'll say this, when the more your market is saturated, and I hate using that word saturated, the more hosts there are in your market, right? When you have a large population of hosts, that's where you really have to focus on setting yourself apart, right? And regardless, whatever market you go into, you should. So what I looked at to separate myself apart is I started looking at the other amenities that the host provided. So the cool thing about the Carlsbad building that I'm in, we have EV chargers and we have a gym. When I looked at other apartment complexes in the area, right? Because typically in San Diego County, the closer you get to the beach, the older the property is. Like those are the properties that have been around the longest, right? So a lot of these apartment communities out there that are real close to the water, you know, they don't have, you know, the gym and like that newer build style that you're seeing more so nowadays. So when I did my market research, I'm like, wow, no place has EV chargers and no place has a gym. Like not a lot of places do.
Were you looking for that, or you saw that wasn't a common thing?
I was looking to see what it is that people don't have, and during that research process, I made that discovery. Like, okay, there's not a lot of EV chargers. At first, I go into it very general, like, what does the mass majority have? And you can do this simply by going to Airbnb and playing with the filter options, because you can checkbox EV charger, you can checkbox gym, you can checkbox hot tub. And if you check those things off, and Airbnb comes back and says, oh, there's only 2 places available that match what you want to provide, then you know you have a unique value proposition that you bring to the market, and you can stand out because you have certain amenities that the majority doesn't have.
So are these boxes checked, and the limit, is it because it's not being searched for, it's not needed, or is it because that most properties just don't have it?
Most properties don't have it. So when you're creating your listing, Airbnb wants to know everything you have. Like,
gotcha, okay.
And they're getting even more specific. Like before it was just like, okay, free parking, cool, we have that. You know, you got a kitchen, you got Wi-Fi. Now it's asking like, you know, do you have streaming services available? Do you have blackout curtains? Do you have a not a playpen, but a crib? Do you have a high chair?
Wow.
Those are all filters you can check off on Airbnb. And the more filters you check off, the better you will be in search results, right? Because if I'm a family and I need a pack and play and I need a high chair to feed my kid, I'm gonna hit that checkbox when I'm searching as a guest. So the more checkboxes you can check off, the more of a relevant search you will come up in when people are searching for you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in Southern California. We have one of the top travel markets throughout the United States because everyone wants to come to LA. Everyone wants to come to San Diego. Everyone wants to come to Palm Springs. You know, we got Big Bear. We even have the drive-to markets, right? So with you being in SoCal, I would tell you that more or less you have a gold mine out here. So the next thing I would tell you to do is build a list of cities that come to mind. Everything that's within a 2-hour drive of you from where you live, write that city down. And make sure when you're thinking about these cities, ask yourself the question, does this city have any travel attractions? Which means things that are going to attract travelers. And that can be an array of different things, right? We got military bases that attract travel, schools, hospitals, sports arenas, amusement parks, specific events that may happen in the downtown area, national parks. Is there any outdoor recreational things happening, such as, you know, the beaches, the rivers, the lakes? Right. So I'm going to think about, okay, in these cities I'm considering, are there any travel attractions? And then I would tell you to make a whole list of all those cities. Then on top of your list, I would have you think about your out-of-state markets as well. What places do you have access to through relationships you may have? You know, do you have a cousin that's out of state? Do you have a friend that's out of state, right? And I only say this because it's your first unit. So you want to make sure you have boots on the ground. You can operate this business model anywhere, but I think for your first unit, it's better to have something that you have a little bit more control over in the beginning so you can learn the entire process. So then after we have your list, I'm going to say, okay, and look at your list. And the next thing I want you to do is to verify 2 things. One is if there's travel demand, and 2 is if the local short-term rental laws and ordinances are in your favor, right? Because now that Airbnb and short-term rental is more mainstream, you're seeing a lot of cities come out with their own jurisdiction about short-term rentals, right? So some cities may have a ban against it. Hey, we don't want short-term rentals in our city. And the reason why they do that is because the hotel industry was able to lobby for that to get passed, right? Because that's our competition is not host to host. Our competition is hotel industry, because we're disrupting them. Because think about this, man, like how does Motel 6, as raggedy as it looks, is still able to thrive in this market? Because at the end of the day, when people are traveling to a place, they need lodging, even if that lodging looks ghetto as heck and you wouldn't want to live there. People still need to stay there. So we're disrupting them. So I would say, make sure that the short-term rental ordinances are good in the places on your list, and then make sure that you identify that there's travel demand. How do we identify travel demand? We go straight to the platforms that people are already booking on and look at the existing competition. So I'll tell you, go to Airbnb and set your filters up to look at, a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment. Set those filters in place. And then there's a button that says price. And if you click on that button that says price, it'll give you an average nightly rate. And then I want you to check if that average nightly rate is significant in relation to the occupancy rate. Occupancy rate is how many days out the month your place is being occupied or booked. So if you have a 70% occupancy rating, a 70% occupancy rate, that means that you're getting booked at least 21 days out the month, right? We're looking at 70% of 30 days, 21 days.
Right.
So once you identify that there's a demand for travel in that area and that the laws are good, and mind you, before I go further, this is very important. I will also tell you, just because you never heard of the city doesn't mean you should count it out.
Okay.
We always think major cities, San Diego, Houston, Vegas, maybe even Dallas is considered major. But there's all these communities that I've never heard of, you never heard of, that are killing it on the Airbnb market. Let me ask you, have you ever heard of a place called Slidell?
Right now I have.
Have you ever heard of a place called Biloxi?
Biloxi, Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Gulfport?
Yeah. No, Gulfport, nope.
That's also in Mississippi. So those places that I just mentioned made the top 5.
Mississippi?
Made the top 5 for places you should invest in a short-term rental. Places I never heard of, would never think to travel to.
Wow.
AirDNA was saying these are the top 5 markets you should invest in for short-term rentals in 2022. So I always tell people, even if you never heard of the city, do not push it away because it may be a gem.
Yeah.
Everyone heard of Joshua Tree, but not a lot of people heard of Yucca Valley, which is right next door, and Landers, which is right above that.
Right.
So after we verify all those things on your markets, now I would tell you, all right, go set up your LLC, right? Because we're doing a corporate lease, not a personal lease. A corporate lease allows you to do this in the transparent way.
Right.
There's an entity that's going to be responsible for the unit. And under that lease agreement, we have the understanding that there's going to be multiple individuals coming in and out. It's not Anthony on the lease agreement that has to live in there.
So the complex knows this.
I'm 100% I'm 100% transparent with the complex because I know what it's like to do it the other way and get kicked out and lose a lot of money.
What's the other way?
The other way is where you walk into an apartment complex and say, hey, I want to live here. And you sign a 12-month lease, and then you furnish that mug, you piece out, throw it on Airbnb, and you run it until your neighbors or the leasing office catches you. And when they catch you, they're going to kick you out. And when they kick you out, you're going to have to pay a lease break fee.
Wow.
So not only did you have to pay all this money to furnish your spot, you now have a lease break fee before you were even able to really turn a profit. I went through that. Literally, my first unit in San Diego was like that.
Really?
And that's what led me down this path of, let me figure out the right way to do this. Oh, you can do a corporate lease. And then also too, I tell them where I list. They know I'm on Airbnb. I just position it in a way where I don't sound like Joe Schmo coming in there like, oh, let me Airbnb this place. You guys allow that? I say it in a way that positions us as a professional company. Yeah. I approach them and I say, hey, I'm a short-term housing solutions company. My name is Kevin Anderson. We've been doing this, for quite some time. I wanted to see if you have multiple units available because I want to provide stay to my traveling clients. The way we find our clients is we advertise online. Same as you guys, you advertise online. Yeah. We advertise on short-term rental platforms because we know that people who are looking for a shorter term stay are going to those platforms. So we utilize booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb, TripAdvisor, corporatehousing.com. We utilize it all, but it's just in order to push traffic to us so that we can begin working with our ideal clientele. Now, how does that sound versus, hey, I want to Airbnb your spot?
Here are the keys.
Right. Here's the keys, right? So, and all that's transparent because we are going to list in multiple places. I always tell people, stop calling even though I say it just for marketing purposes, we're not an Airbnb business. We're a short-term rental. We're a short-term rental business or a short-term rental housing company, however you want to position it. And we list on these short-term rental platforms, but we are not the platform. That's just a traffic source. If Ground B&B comes out tomorrow, then that'll be the new traffic source, right? So, so after that, I would tell you, get your entity, get your business email, get your business name, because when we reach out to them, I don't want it to be from Anthony@gmail.com, Anthony136 right? And then I would tell you whether you're at work, whether you're at home, whether you're on a date, pick up your phone and I want you to copy and paste this scripted intro message that I have here and send out 30 to 50 messages a day. And within a week's time, you'll have some solid leads that you could begin working with.
Right.
But the gold is within the script.
Yeah.
We've been able to test this script for over the last 2 to 3 years to see what works best in terms of them understanding what we do and allowing us to do it. And it's been proven for us. And I do that script over the phone with them because over the phone, I realize you're able to build a rapport and a relationship. Yeah. And that's where you can really set yourself apart, your personality, who you are.
This is after the email. After they say, yes, I'm interested, and at that point you call them and you go over the script.
Yes.
So it's about positioning.
It's about positioning. Right? But here's the truth. You can be Joe Schmo who doesn't own no real estate, who just got his LLC yesterday, but because you know how to say it, you're seen in a whole new light. Yeah. It's positioning.
Yeah. And that's why your scripts are so important, because they're amazing. So that script that you just told us is like that's gold. I'm sure people are gonna rewind, try copy it down.
They should.
Yeah. But you don't have to. Just get Kevin's course.
Right. And here's the thing, like the way I just positioned to say it now, that's like the 2022 way. Okay. Before, the basic question was, are you accepting corporate leases? Like that was the golden question. Yeah. But with everybody asking that, I've detached myself from just the normal question of, are you accepting corporate leases, to this is who we are. Yeah. This is how we can provide value to you. Are you interested in moving forward or not? Yeah. Period.
Yeah. Like the first one is kind of like close-ended. They say yes or no, or you just hang up, do it next time, right? So
now I want to build rapport. Because here's the truth. Like even if the person I'm talking to on the phone, even if they don't allow it at that specific community, or they just can't do it because whatever the case is, they may be able to point you to another location. Right. So when you focus on building relationships, you'll have no problem finding your next 10, 20, 30 doors.
Yeah. Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
This business can be rewarding.
Yeah.
But there is work involved. You have to send the emails. But the thing is that you give your students the exact email script to send.
Yeah.
Right? So you make it a bit easier for them. So what's the downside to Airbnb?
So the downside,
I'm sorry, to short-term rentals.
Right. So right. So the downside to short-term rentals, arbitrage, right? The specific arbitrage model is that you have no control over the asset, which has its pros and cons.
Okay.
So the pros to that is, let's just say for whatever reason your area doesn't work out and you need to make a pivot. It's easy to break the lease, right? You can easily walk away from the property if you needed to. Remember, it's under the company's name as well. So liability is on the company, not you. But the cons is that apartment complex or property owner, they don't have to renew that lease with you after the lease term, right? And that's happened to me. I've been in a situation, so like Airbnb is mainstream now, right? A few years back, it was catching steam, but lenders, right? Traditional real estate lenders didn't see it as a true real estate model, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because I had a situation where I was at an apartment building and they wanted to refinance, but the lender didn't count myself being a tenant in there because of the business model I was doing. He was like, that's not a true tenant occupied unit because it's a short-term rental.
Even though you're paying every single
month.
Though
I'm paying and had a great track record of payments. Wow. He told the owners that it didn't really qualify as that. We need to see long-term tenants in here, not short-term or corporate tenants.
So they didn't renew your lease.
So they didn't renew my lease so that they could get the doors. But now that's changing. Like you're seeing lenders who are, funding you based on the short-term rental business model. Okay. So in order to get over that con, if you will, that barrier is when it comes to rental arbitrage, you want to take the cash flow for that, stack up, and then invest into real estate and run the same model. Because when you own the asset, and we already verified that laws are good there, nobody can stop you from doing that. There's going to be cities, no matter what, that will always have travel demand for the next hundreds of years because we, as people, we travel, right? We go around the world. 21st century, we're planes, jets, trains. We can go anywhere. So there's always going to be people moving around. So I don't see this industry going anywhere. Matter of fact, it's just getting bigger, right? Just like hotels ain't going to go anywhere either. So Yeah, you just got to eventually get in control of the asset.
Yeah.
Like, don't get comfortable with the arbitrage money,
Yeah.
even though the cash flow is good. The cash on cash is great too, because you don't need that much capital to secure a door,
Yeah.
but you still cash flow the same way as if you owned it. Um,
Let me make sure I heard you correctly. So you're saying that if you do the rental arbitrage, then certain cities that have rules you cannot do Airbnb in, but if you own the asset, those rules don't apply to you?
Well, there's some places where they say in order for you to have a short-term rental unit, you need to be the owner. Like, the owner of the property is the one that has to go get the actual license from the city.
Gotcha.
And then there's other places where, as long as you're the registered agent of the property, aka the one responsible for it, that you're the one in control of it, they'll allow you to do it as well.
Okay.
Like, for instance, Atlanta, you can do short-term rental arbitrage in there. They just want you to get a permit, right? Because they want to tax you so they get their piece of the pie.
Right.
That's why I think, every city should allow that, because
Allow
it's going
cash,
to generate revenue for
yeah,
them. You know what I'm saying?
But even when the tourists come in, that generates revenue for the actual city.
Come on
Right.
now. Yeah. So, I mean, it works all the way around, but anytime you see tough regulation, there's probably like a large hotel industry in that specific place. But yeah, that's one thing I would tell people is just, remember, we don't control the asset, but we eventually want to get in the position of ownership.
Yeah.
And when it comes to ownership, sometimes it can be more capital intensive.
Yeah.
Maybe your credit needs to be in a certain place.
Yeah.
And the truth is too, we know that there's business models out there where people can acquire homes with low to no money down as well.
Yeah.
But traditionally, most people will need that 15-20%, or most people go that route of having to put something down.
Gotcha.
So I tell people, like, hey, if you don't have the capital or even the credit to get started with owning real estate right away, start that short-term rental arbitrage business, right? That you can start with definitely less than $10,000.
Yeah.
And you're able to get that cash flow going and just stack up.
Yeah. So there's a guy watching, a girl. My last apartment, I got evicted from.
Mm-hmm.
My credit sucks. I don't have any money. And that's okay, because you can get partners, right? If you don't have it, you go out there and find somebody who does have it, right?
Yeah.
Have you had to bring any partners in to help you with your business?
I brought partners in the beginning, and this was probably just more so because I didn't have the capital that I wanted to scale.
Right.
So I brought in partners from a capital perspective, but that was also during a time where I didn't understand business credit or even personal credit, if you will. Because here's the truth, like, even if you have a 600 credit score or even a 590, there's still funding options available to you. The interest is going to be high. It's going to be, some ugly terms associated with it. But as long as you're taking that capital and doing what you're supposed to do and investing it, not spending it on some Jordans or whatever, then you can take care of that loan when it's time to. So if I had the chance to go back, I would probably tap into more of, personal funding and business funding at the time. But I did start with partners. And you had mentioned something, right? So, like, getting evicted from a place, it goes on your credit. So then going to get another place, it could be harder because you have that derogatory mark. Beautiful thing about a corporate lease, my brother, is in most cases, when they are doing the approval process, it is solely based on the business, right? They're checking the EIN, not your SSN. Right? They're checking the history of the business, not your history.
Right.
So even if someone has evictions and they have terrible credit, if you run into a situation where they're just going to screen the business, you can still get in that property. And even if you don't want to do short-term rentals, let's just say you need a place to live, but you can't get approved with your personal. Try it with an entity.
That's a nugget right there.
Yeah.
That's a nugget. Okay. Yeah. So either way, if you're missing something, seek a partnership, because a partnership can help you get what you want. Even if it's a temporary one, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be long term.
Doesn't have to be long term. And there's places out there, again, that like when it comes to, I've been in situations where when they're looking at my business entity, it's only been around less than a year. But the only thing they wanted to see was, does this business have any derogatory marks? Okay, no, that's it. They didn't care about my Paydex score. They didn't care about my IntelliScore from Experian Business, right? They just wanted to make sure that it was a clean LLC. So every situation is different, but for those out there that have a little bit more barriers to jump through because of personal credit and personal finances, or something on the credit report, you are able to still get, like, it's possible for you to still lease a door on your own using your entity.
Awesome. Awesome.
Maybe a little bit harder, but you can still do it. I've seen it done. I've done it. Yeah.
I mean, if you want it, then you'll go through the hoops and the valleys to actually get what you want. I mean, that's
Carlsbad didn't run my Social Security not once.
Are you serious?
They only looked at my business, and that was, bro, they didn't even ask for any bank statements to prove financials. I could have been broke joke off the street. No money. It could have just been like, hey, let me put this all, scrape it together.
But then that also comes back down to the relationship, right? Because how you go in, how you talk to them.
Yes.
Because he was like, hey, what's up, homie? You know, my name is Kevin.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna get some of the units. They probably ran everything, your mom's and everything, right? So it's like you went in there and you were professional.
Yeah.
You talked to him.
And they started all on the phone too.
Yeah. So you built that. And I think that plays a major role in what people will and will not give to you is the relationship that you build with them beforehand.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you manage over 30 units right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why teach? Why give the knowledge away? Not give it away, but why package it? Because why you just keep the secrets to yourself and just go from 30 to 60 to 100 units? I mean, why teach now?
Because you rob yourself of the blessing that you can receive when you choose to withhold the gifted information that God gave you.
Right.
So I realized, one, it's not mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody else did this first, and it was by God's grace that I aligned with the right person to hear this information.
Yeah.
So I know that it's more blessed to give than receive. But it's funny you say that, bro, because when I first got started in this business, I was working with a specific group of guys who were also doing short-term rental arbitrage, a little under the table.
I remember that.
And it was funny because when I told one of them, like, hey, I'm going to start educating others, he came in with the scarcity mentality of, hey, don't share this with people. It's going to ruin the game for us. We're all going to have to give up our units. It's not going to work. It's going to get saturated.
Wow.
Blah. Like all the negativity to try to get me to stop.
Yeah.
Man, when I seen my first student get the keys to their unit, I experienced a sense of fulfillment that I have never experienced in my life because I truly had helped somebody elevate out of their financial situation, and not just financial, right? Because we know that when you do stuff like this, it gives you a new confidence that you can go do other things. Yeah. So, man, I am so glad I didn't listen to that scarcity mindset individual I was talking to, because if not, so many others would have been robbed of their blessing, including myself. Because like, even though it does help them, I also do it in sense for myself as well, because there's fulfillment I receive from it. Like 95% of the things we do it because it brings some type of feeling for ourselves. Even if we're bringing a gift to our kid, it's still the satisfaction of seeing them enjoy it that probably makes us feel the best about it anyway. So like, I'm like, ever since I was little, I wanted to be a superhero. I want to help people. Like I want to, you know, the bat is in the air and I want to show up and somehow bring value to people, man. So
that's crazy. That's good.
Yeah. I think it was just a part of my nature, the reason why I had to share it and teach it, brother.
You talk about confidence.
Yeah.
Right? And it's truly a gift to me to see where you came from.
Yeah.
Because I remember 3 years ago, 2 years ago, how long it was, in our text group, you were in a panic about quitting your job.
Yeah.
You're in a panic, right?
Yep.
And you were nowhere as near as confident back then as you are now.
Facts.
Right? And I see a totally different, I mean, I see you now as a superhero that you wanted to be.
Man,
right?
yeah.
You're there. And that's how people act every day in their life. You know, they're being scared is okay, right? Being scared is a part of who you are. Even though you were scared, you were kind of panicking, you took the action anyway.
Yeah.
Right? How did you move through that and move through it and like press through that fear with not knowing what's going to happen? Or did you know what's going to happen? How did you push through that?
So I think there's two parts that play into it. The first one, I'll say, it was definitely my community, bro.
Yeah.
Like when I think about the visual picture of a newborn bird coming out of that egg, and then now they're chilling for a little bit, they say that eventually mama bird is going to push them off of the nest or out of the nest, but it's only to show them that they have the capability to fly. Yeah. So being surrounded by other entrepreneurs who genuinely care about me, thank you for being a part of that circle. you guys helped me see that I had the capability to fly
Yeah.
while I was still in the nest.
Yeah.
So that was one big factor because I was receiving healthy pressure, right? And that's what's huge about your circle. You're either going to receive peer pressure that makes you do dumb shit, or you're going to receive peer pressure that elevates you to who God has called you to be. And that's the type of circle I'm a part of, pushing me towards what God has called me to be. And the second piece of that was just realizing, and I can't honestly say I probably realized it in the moment, but it was just being willing just to take the risk, man. Like, I would try to think of all the safety nets of like, oh, well, I guess they can still hire me back. I can always get another job.
Right.
But sometimes you just have to jump with not knowing what's going to take place. But the beautiful thing about it, man, is like God has positioned the people around you where you're going to have everything you need. I had my wife that was 100. Think about this, man. Like me and my wife at the time are broke as a joke, living at my mother's house, more bills than income, right? In that situation of quitting, it's not like I saved up 3 months rent. You know how they tell you you want to have 3 months, living expenses put away. This was not the Dave Ramsey method at all. We were still kind of like, okay, I think I had like $2,000 saved up or something like that. But she was just still on board, like, hey, I believe this is gonna work. I got you. So I think like, having my wife, having you guys, was the perfect mixture of everything that I needed to move forward. And the last thing I had to do was just trust myself and take action. The funny thing was too, bro, I quit March 5th, 2020. The pandemic, the lockdown literally took place March 17th, the day after my birthday. That's literally when California was like, we better not see you on the streets after 8 o'clock. Everything is locked down, essentials only. So I quit into a situation where now the thing I was looking at that was supposed to be my, not security blanket, but the income that was supposed to come from Airbnb was now just erased. I went to 0 bookings literally within a month. Like I lost like 3 months worth of bookings on like 20 units. And on top of that, I got about 20 units at the time. So rent was anywhere around like $2,000. So I got about like $40,000 in rent that I have to pay the next month, and I have no cash flow. So I'm glad it happened all the way. I'm glad it happened the way it did, because again, it just showed me, the power in making a pivot. And we made some pivots during that time that really just opened up my eyes of, okay, there's so many different ways to get it out here.
Pivoting is I think is vital to your business. Vital to humanity, right? You gotta be able to pivot. But what I find more fascinating is that you had these fears, concerns about I get another job, if it doesn't work out. Those are valid concerns, right? And I think at times people try to ignore those emotions. I'm scared, it didn't work. That's valid. Right. And the key is that you push through it, and you said you took action. Action defeats fear, right? That's the cure for fear. If you walk and talk and move in action, eventually that fear will subside. Right?
It has to.
It has to. And that's what you did, is that even after you made money and the pandemic hit, it happened again, right? I'm sure some fear set in. I mean, if you have $40K in rents due and you have no capital, I'm sure some fear set in. Right?
Oh, bro, I sent the text to my boss that I walked up. Bro, I swear on everything. I said, hey, just want to know. And I try to do it as a joke. Like, hey guys, how's everything going? Hey, just by the way, if I was to come back, what would that look like? And there was no going back, bro. The bridge has been burned. The boat has sailed.
But the key is, and my point is that this stuff is going to happen.
Yes, sir.
In business and in life, it's going to happen, and it's there to grow you or defeat you. But it's your choice whether it grows you or defeats you, right? And you let it grow you and prosper you. And now after that, you're at 1.4 million a year after doing what, 30K a year?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I want to congratulate you and applaud you.
Thank you.
Just for that feat, because most people would have probably quit by now. After this mess. So talk to me about the course. Talk to me about how many people that you've helped and like what are you doing? You're doing challenges now. So talk to me about how you're giving back now.
So I started the course October 2020, right? I'm still in the pandemic year, but it was perfect timing because I think everyone was so scared of Airbnb. Like there was not a lot of people who had an Airbnb course out at the time. So I kind of got that. I was able to get a part of that first wave, even though it was way too cheap at $75. Dear Jesus. So yeah, I launched the course, man, and then immediately started to receive feedback in the Facebook group of like, just got my keys. And these are people doing it the right way. Like we're not cutting no corners and any of that. So when I seen that, it was just like, oh, time to scale up. And then that's where that true sense of fulfillment came, bro. Because, you know, just seeing the stories of people being in the same situation that I was in, where it was like, you know, I'm working, but, you know, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I'm kind of stuck in the middle. There's individuals who are doing this full time now. Bro, my own brother-in-law, sister, man, walked away from their jobs as nurses, good paying jobs.
As nurses.
Yeah, and it started with their journey into short-term rentals. They do a bunch of different things now, but it started with their journey into short-term rentals. So the fulfillment of seeing myself play a part in someone else's journey, my brother, that's when I was just like, oh, yep, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I pretty much made the commitment internally where it was like, everything that I learned, e-commerce, Airbnb, real estate, you name it, how to grow potatoes, I don't care.
You got a restaurant now?
Oh, right. I was able to invest in some restaurants. That was cool. Right. But everything that I learned that is of value, I will be giving that back out to others in the form of a course, challenge, mentorship, any way that equips them.
Right.
That's my lifelong mission, man. I want to be able to equip as many people as possible. And I know that with that mentality, there will come more opportunity to learn because I'm focused on being able to bring this information to somebody else. So I want to be the conduit, bro.
Right.
I want to be the conduit.
Yeah. And you are, because tonight you're going to be teaching a group of people how to do short-term rentals. So I'm excited for that. I mean, they're going to get this plus more tonight. So I'm super excited for that. So anybody who wants to get the course, I'm sure it's on social media. So how do we find you on social media?
You can find me on social media, IG. I'm always on Instagram, over Facebook. My Instagram name just changed it. It's Kevin Inspired Me. At Kevin Inspired Me. Used to be Kevin Motivated Me, but inspired just lands different. I want to inspire you, not just motivate you. So yeah, at Kevin Inspired Me. And then you can find the course at www.airbnprofits.com. That's airbnprofits.com. But if you follow me on IG, you'll see the link to the course there.
Link it up.
And I would love for everybody to be a part of this academy that we have, the Airbnb Profits Academy. Currently has 5,400 people across the world, really.
That many, wow.
Right, so like when you come into this, you're a part of a network now where you can connect with others, see where they're going. And that's very powerful, you know, just seeing people do it, but also being able to connect. You may be in Rochester, New York, and now I have an opportunity there because you're there, and vice versa. You have an opportunity in San Diego because I'm here.
Right.
So community's where it's at. Be a part of the family. God bless you.
So I've seen so many people teaching Airbnb. Right. But I'll say this. So there are two things show me that you made it. Right. One is when you're on IG and I get a friend request from you, but it's not really from you, right? People are now copying your IG for what? I have no clue why, but if someone's copying you and creating new IG accounts, you made it. Secondly, is that most of the courses that I see, it's your content, right? Bro. So you were first to the space, one of the first people to the space, and now these guys and girls are copying your content because it's good shit, plain and simple. Right?
Yeah. And I'm not tripping about that.
It's a compliment.
It's a compliment, but I'll say in full confidence, no arrogance, but just the reality of it. I'm probably your Airbnb coach's coach.
Right.
And I've seen individuals who came out of the Airbnb Profits start their own mentorship course and all that. And I encourage them, like any way I can give to them on that process, whether it's helping them with a sales funnel, whether it's, price, whatever it is, I will give to them. Like I want to see people do the same thing. Become that superhero, equip others, because we all have an audience to reach. And The more that people get equipped, the more people we can reach, even if it's not directly through me. So I love it, man.
Love it. Love it. All right. 3 quick action steps that someone can take right now to get started.
The biggest action steps is going to be setting up that entity. That's going to be huge. Because even if you set up an LLC and you do nothing with it and it sits there for 2 years, that thing is of value. You can get funding. You can do a lot of things with it. So get your corporate entity, get your business name, and start reaching out to people, letting them know who you are and what you want to do. That's literally all it takes. Everything else will fall into place after that. Get your entity, do outreach, make sure you have your business name and your business branding set up, which is simply your business email and who you are, company name.
I'll add a 4th one to that. Buy your course.
Yes.
Add a 4th one to that. Buy the course.
Join the Airbnb Profits Academy. Connect with me.
Yep.
We'll get you a unit in under 30 days.
Awesome.
Just by the course by itself.
Anything for us in closing?
God loves you so much. We've been created by a creator. So creating is in our DNA. So create your own life because it's going by every single day. We're literally running out of time.
Yes.
So create whatever it is that comes to your imagination because God gave you that dream. And stop building someone else's imagination. You have your own to build.
Amen. Thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure having you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So did you guys learn about short-term rentals? Now, the key to success is to take notes, take action, and act despite fear. You're going to have fear. Things are going to pop up. You're going to have questions, concerns, but that's normal. Listen to how Kevin walked through his process, how he walked through his fear, and how he came out to do $1.4 freaking million in 1 year. $1.4 million. That's not luck. That's hard work and action and acting despite of fear. So what are you doing? Go get Kevin's course. Go take action on your goals and your dreams. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.